right, Huber.
Yo.
I recently got to check out Den of Wolves.
Sick.
4-player co-op heist game.
Heists are one of my favorite things in any form of media.
Yeah, and this is from 10 Chambers, who did GTFO.
Yep.
And
Hell of a game.
And the creators, Ulf Anderson and some of the other guys worked on Payday 1 and 2, right?
Sick.
So that's the pedigree where
Yes.
this is coming from. Also, full disclosure, they are why I got to go up to GDC.
Nice.
They had the preview event alongside of GDC. They're basically doing a world tour.
Yeah.
Like they did Japan first, and then GDC, and then I forget. I think Copenhagen or something next. But yeah, so they're doing a whole bunch.
Sick.
And I think Copenhagen will have happened by the time you see this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got to go over. They were at Unity's office up in SF, and I got to meet the team and check out the game and all of that good stuff. And they gave me like all of this crazy backstory because there's some wild stuff to like the setup of all of this. It's not just like bank heists and stuff, right?
Okay.
We're like deep future stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing too. So GTFO, 10 Chambers is called that because there were basically 10 people.
Oh.
But it did super well. Like they said they made
I
the
thought it was
money back
gun chambers.
in like 9 days.
Wow.
And then they've also got some investments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So now there's like 100 people working on Den of Wolves.
Staff up.
Yeah. So basically what's happened in this like futurescape is AI has been used to do like all these cyber attacks and all of that kind of stuff.
As it does, Skynet.
And so corporations that need to protect themselves and don't care about ethics have started creating biological networks, like using like humans and tissue and
Sounds
stuff like
awesome.
that standard digital technology can't infiltrate, right? And they've also created this place called like Midway City. It's like this corporate mega city kind of thing. Think of like, Deus Ex or whatever.
Peach trees.
Yeah. But they said crime finds a way.
Crime finds a way. That's fantastic.
And so there are these hackers that can dive into the neural networks. So it's kind of a mix of your standard kind of like getting into vaults and stuff, but then you're also trying to get into these neural vaults to get the real information, the planted memories and all of that kind of thing. And they talked about 4 kind of different mission types. They're like espionage, sabotage, assassinations, and then like stealing prototypes.
Great.
And there are also kind of like different levels of heists. So they're like smaller heists that you'll do to kind of like get some cash, maybe get some explosives and get things that you need to prepare for the bigger heists.
How does that work mechanically? Is that like meta progression? Like you earn and save money and then you buy the items?
Yeah. It's
one?
like basically like you do a smaller mission to prepare for the stuff that you need for the bigger mission. And it's like if you're still not getting the bigger mission, it's like, okay, go back and do some smaller
That sounds
ones.
so fun.
Yeah. And then they're looking at one district when they do the early access launch, and then they'll kind of build up from there.
Damn, so hyped.
They still don't have any kind of time frame for when that's going to happen because they want it to be as like polished and tight as they can get it first.
Need that Switch 2 announcement.
But like even with like the builds that I was playing, it was like they don't want you to play too much because it's like we've already been on the road for weeks and like they've already fixed all of these things.
Yeah.
And then like in terms of like loadouts, like you've got like some primary weapons and secondary weapons, and then like a melee.
Any cool sci-fi weaponry?
Not in terms of weapons, but the thing that seemed to sort of differentiate, like rather than having like a full-blown class, was the gadgets that you pick. So
Rainbow Six.
They were like shields that you can put up, and so like your team gets behind a shield, and then turrets, and then proximity mines and stuff like that, and
it's just co-op, right? Not PvP.
Right. Because it's fully co-op game. It's all about
friendly
talking to each other and plotting it out and planning your move into this place, right? So you've got you've got these basically like these safe cracker things that like you and that's another thing that's in your resources. Like you can go in there and you might only have one of these.
Got it.
But if you have another one, then you can work on two smaller vaults at the same time. And there are some parts where like when you start off, like you can be in like kind of stealth mode, and so you kind of had that. It's like, okay, watch the guards, get up behind them, get a shiv, and take them down. But then somebody spotted me, and it's like, okay, well now the group's alert.
Time to go loud.
Yeah. And when you so like you kind of like set up your defensive perimeter around a vault, and you have the thing cracking it, and so then you've got people that are like taking on the guards. And then somebody else that like might be like watching, because sometimes it stops and you've got to like reset the thing and keep it cracking that vault. And then when you get in the vault, there's like bags of loot in there, but sometimes there's ammo, because like your ammo is fairly limited. You got to not just like completely spray and pray. You
pick your shots.
Yeah, be careful. And health packs will be in the vaults as well.
Nice. No regenning health.
Yeah,
unless it's like a class maybe or an ability later on.
No, you needed to get health.
Great,
yeah.
Great.
And then sometimes there'll be keys for the larger objectives. Like you'll need like multiple keys to unlock the big thing.
You'll get keys from a vault, and then you'll use those keys in another mission, or that same mission.
So when you do the big, so the way the big vault worked with the neural thing is it was like there's a room like with vaults all around the perimeter, right? 2 floors of vaults. Jeez. And we had to figure out, or we had to find like the 3 keys.
That's
we
so
didn't know
crazy.
which vaults that they're going to be
awesome.
in. Yeah. What's crazy is so there's also for those there's like a planning phase.
Yeah.
And they don't have like the UI for that yet. So what they did, they took us into like another room
with a whiteboard.
Yeah, no, they had a desk with like an actual printed blueprint laid out across the desk, and they took a Sharpie and they're like, okay, this is what the room looks like. Here are the vaults. Here's where we're gonna have to escape from.
So sick.
How do we want to approach this? What do you want to do? And so like he's drawing. I'm like, okay, let's go this way and like go around the room, because the other thing we had to worry about in there is our escape plan.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, not only do you have to get the stuff, but you have to get out. Right. And so in the smaller mission, like there's pretty much a set thing. There's an elevator, right? And so you grab the loot and you get out. And the loot though is like these big bags. So you can only carry like one bag at a time.
Heat.
Right. So you carry your bag, get to the elevator, toss it in the elevator, and then you kind of have to decide, do we go back to get the rest of the bags?
Absolutely.
Well, that's what we did the first time.
Yeah.
But the second one, like, wasn't so sure. But the other, so I was saying with the big one, the planning escape route, what they had was there was this big, because like you're up on a skyscraper, right? So there's this big like wall of windows, but then there was also a blast shield, right? So what we had to do is we had to plant a bunch of explosives to take out the windows, but then we also needed to open up the blast shield from the control room, the same control room that opens up the big neural vault. And so that's another thing you have to decide. It's like, when do we blast? And so like I said, okay, let's like essentially like work around the room clockwise.
Yeah.
So check those first couple of volts, then we'll set the explosives. And we had to set like a bunch. Like we had like to set like, I want to say like 8 or 10 charges on these pillars to like take out the glass. But I wanted to like, once we've actually got the payload, just get out of there, right?
Yeah.
But then also, once the windows were blown and we were like, we're getting the loot bags out of the smaller vaults, we're just tossing them in a pile there, right?
So fun. How are the enemies? They're pretty tough, pretty smart.
Yeah, there's a
variety.
mix of them. There's a mix of them, yeah, and they start coming from all kinds of different directions. They start like blasting in through some of the walls and crap, dude. And yeah, some of them are more armored. There's some that are kind of like more boss enemies and stuff. And so that's
pretty threatening.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's the thing. It's like it's still again, it's like it's about sticking together, like someone covering for you while like you're trying to get into a vault. Make sure someone's got your back so that when you come out, you don't just, have somebody taking you down. Because, again, you're limited health.
Yeah.
So we're trying to going through the vaults. There's some places where there were, like, 2 vaults side by side. And so, like, okay, we could, like, manage both of those things while they're cracking them. And then you get the keys. We had enough keys. Okay, get to the control room. Open up the blast shield. Open up the main thing. And then when you hack into the neural vault thing, the neural network, there's this crazy thing where then it became sort of like a standoff, because when you do the jump, the dive, you have to do it like multiple times, and there's like a cooldown on it. Mm-hmm. So it's like you dive, then you've got to wait a minute and hold your ground, and then dive again, and then hold your ground, and then dive again. But here's where it gets super crazy, Huber. They're saying,
already sounds crazy.
The when you go into the dive, they say like there's going to be all kinds of different things. Like every dive is going to be entirely different, and so it's like these like mental frameworks of like the person's memories or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like we were going through this like, it was like a Mario Galaxy in first person.
Where is your body at this point? Just like in the real world?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what
vulnerable
I don't know
like
exactly how that lore works, because like we were all in there.
Yeah.
And it was,
couldn't the enemies just come in while you're like diving and take you out?
I would think so, but maybe it doesn't work like that. Maybe time stops, or maybe
some
like
Inception shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but dude, like it was like, again, it was like a Mario Galaxy like platformer level. Like you're like running up the walls and like this on the ceiling, and then hopping over things.
So cool.
And essentially, it's kind of like a race. So like you're all trying to get through this platforming level and just get to the end. And then as soon as like one person on your team gets to the end, then you've got it. You've got the payload. But then you've got to do it like a couple of more times, and you get different levels and stuff like that.
Yeah. Crazy.
But yeah, just even the thought of like not really knowing like how many different types of dives that they're going to make, and like aesthetics and you know, design.
How long was that process?
Like I said, there's a couple of minutes in between each one, but the level itself wasn't like super long or anything like that. Yeah, it's just
so they could make a lot of those variety.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then yeah, it's like once we got all the dives, then it's like, okay, do we just go now, or do we go to the smaller vaults and, you know, try to get as much loot as we can?
All of it.
Yeah. Well, that's what you want. But like at that point, we're again
so many enemies.
You're low on
health,
ammo.
Low
on health.
Cut your
gadgets
losses.
you only have so many of those to go around. So like once you start running out of shields and turrets and stuff, you're like, and these guys are coming through the walls, coming in new ways that we don't expect. And like, all right, it's time. Let's just cut and run.
Take the loot.
Yeah. So I think we got like 13 out of 36 of the loot bags on my run. But yeah.
This one's so fun.
Yeah, so it's going to be good. It's going to be, again, like something you really like need to have
a group
to
communication
talk it out.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious what interface they're going to do to actually do that planning phase, to where it's like not just in your head, you know, like to talk it through, or like look at a blueprint like
Hopefully
that.
you can play pretty well solo, you know. Outlast Trials, but it gave me a lot of hope. I know that's a little smaller.
No, that one works pretty well that way.
A little smaller scale.
That game is intense.
It is. It's just a little smaller with its levels and objectives.
Yeah.
Probably compared to Den of Wolves, but you know, easily playable solo with 3 other people. So
yeah, and I think they did say that like they're making it so like it's not as hardcore as GTFO.
Nice.
It's a little more step
friendly.
down from there, you know.
But still,
yeah,
sounds intense.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like when those guys start coming through, it like you start taking hits, you're not going to regen health, so you got to really be on your game.
What's the date? What's the price? I'm ready.
When it's done.
Damn it.
That's it.
TM. When it's done, TM. Thanks, Valve.
Yeah. So
Dang it.
There it is. So look forward to that. Obviously, Huber didn't get to see the footage, but you guys got to see the footage while we were talking about it. So if it looks good, get it a wish list or any of that good stuff. Thank you for watching this preview. We're Easy Allies. We do all kinds of previews like this, and we talk about games on our podcast every week. So check that out. And if you like what you see, go to patreon.com/EasyAllies to support us and keep this thing rolling. Thank you.
Grab whatever you need and jump out the window.